And welcome everybody to the World of Ability Podcast Network. My name is Emily Gilmer and a podcast engineer here, and excited to bring you another episode of the Blue Collar Crypto Show that I do here every Sunday at 4 and 5:30 p.m. Central. This show is about blue collar crypto, business jobs, and so on for blue collar workers. And I guess with nothing further ado, I'm pass over to Tim. Tim, are you there?
Yes, hello, I'm here. Welcome to Blue Collar Crypto. So let me paint a picture and how you might have seen things in the blue collar world, how you might see things with a different set of eyes, a different way of looking at things in the future versus the blue collar world, which, you know, the name of the show is Blue Collar Crypto, but for all applications and for all purposes, the blue collar world is shrinking quite rapidly. So I grew up in a place where if you wanted a job, you just had to show up basically every day. You really couldn't take a day off. So I think men basically worked, women stayed home. I think today's world is radically different. I think back then they had a few, and the myth is, it's a little mythical, is they had the 40-hour work week. But if you really wanted to make enough money, you probably had to work overtime. They had minimum wage, but I guess many of those jobs were fast food jobs, but that world is kind of disappearing. So what is replacing it? Well, some of the labor laws they're in effect, but I think companies have an easy way of getting around. I think there's been some complaints about some employers, maybe Amazon. Not to talk about unionization in Amazon, because, I mean, they've tried. Unions represent a much smaller percentage of our workforce than they used to. Well, today's work is more women and men. There's more opportunities for women than there used to be. Okay. And because of remote working, a woman can work at home and not have to pay for childcare. It's difficult. Children tend to be noisy, and it's hard to work at a computer with your children making noise in the background. So excuse me if I don't understand completely. It's not easy to work at home. Remote working, work at home, okay. Same thing, right? A lot of the labor laws are, you know, when you're at home, do you get overtime? Maybe you do, and maybe you don't. I guess there's ways around it. If you're at home, maybe the company doesn't have to pay for overtime. After all, they've got you at home. Maybe you should be working all day long, 7 days a week, because there's an internet connection and a remote portal at your home. So maybe you should your home is their office and they don't have to pay for your rent. Why should they? You know, they're paying you, you could pay your own rent. Okay. Well, your home is kind of their office. Let me talk about blue collar crypto. I don't get paid for doing this. and yet I do it. It is work. I've got some talent for it, but when will that ever turn into pay? I don't know if it ever will. 60 Minutes, the television magazine 60 Minutes, did a show about workers in Kenya working for American companies, namely Facebook or Meta or Instagram, whatever, and they're getting paid about $1.50 an hour. And yeah, $1.50 an hour, you can't do that in America because it's impossible to live on. In Kenya, same thing. You can do that, but you'll never, you'll never save anything. You'll go from, as they say, paycheck to paycheck in Kenya at $1.50 an hour. And so where were we? So this remote thing, it's not necessarily a good thing. Okay? Especially now, if you're working at home on a computer, great. That's called remote. But what if they got you working on your cell phone? Well, guess what? I guess wherever you are, you're with your cell phone, you're kind of tethered to your job. Because not only do they have you working at home on your cell phone, but wherever you go, you have to take your cell phone with you, and you're kind of on the job. So not only do they not have to pay rent at a big office building anymore and serve lunch and pay for benefits, well, hey, they don't necessarily have to pay you a living wage if you're working from home, do they? Here's a question there. Okay, they probably have to pay minimum wage, but how much are you really getting if you're spending all your time working and you're at home and you have no home life because you're working from home? Oh my goodness, now you're working from home and you really can't tell the difference between your workspace and your home space. They're the same thing. So it's such a social and cultural deviance. How's that? Differences. So corporations are probably making more profits. If you look at the stock market, it's not too surprising. That's been going up and up and up. That's probably partly because of remote work and companies making more money by having you work at home instead of them putting the bill for a workspace that you go to every day. Let's talk about life insurance. Why should we talk about life insurance? Well, you can make a lot of money in life insurance. So I took my test and I can have a Zoom call and I can make $1,000 in a half an hour. Oh my goodness. Well, before the pandemic, before COVID, life insurance agents went from house to house. Sometimes they knocked on doors. They made appointments. They sat in living rooms. And sometimes they were told, well, we'll think about it, right? Now, it's all done on Zoom. So no more getting in your car. No more spending a half a day with the client. You got that information today off of a Zoom call. You got to see people that you're dealing with on your phone or maybe remotely from your computer or in the future. And it's a very high profit. It's almost like owning your own business. Now, I was talking about not making much money with remote jobs, but here's a way for you to make a lot of money from home remotely. And I'm not saying that you won't put in long hours doing this, but you don't have to spend all that time on fast food and driving and gasoline and in people's living rooms. And you could do it remotely with some comfort, long hours, because not everybody says yes, right? It's still sales. But instead of a half a day, you might be able to get your commission in 30 minutes, or so anyway. So there's exceptions to the rule, but I think corporations are going to take advantage of remote workers. And I think I have a couple examples, and I think in the future, if you look around you, you'll see remote workers being taken advantage of. I think New York City passed a law that said workers don't have to answer their phones at home. Well, you're off of work, but your company is still calling you in the off hours. Okay, so companies were doing that. Why shouldn't they be able to reach you at home? Why shouldn't they communicate with you when you're at home, away from the office? Okay, so that's a thought for where. So I'm hopeful that we'll be working from our phones, but not like remote workers, more like entrepreneurs. And there are some examples of people making money just by using their phones and being independent businessmen, entrepreneurs, real estate investors. There's a lot of good tools out there. We'll be talking about those in the future. But for now, try and pick something remotely that's not remotely going to make you poor. Not even a remote chance that it makes you poor. It's your time. It's your freedom. It's, don't work for $5 an hour doing surveys on the phone. You can't make it that way. And if it's part-time money, don't even do it for part-time money. Try and make a good wage, regardless of what you're doing. Signing off, this is Tim Torosian at Blue Collar Crypto, and I look forward to broaching this subject again. See you next time.
Thank you, Tim, for all of the information. Again, we are here at 4 and 5:30 p.m. every Sunday. Encourage everybody to check out our social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and so on, and other people that we're working with, like the Disability Channel, the PEC Channel, Wingate Studios, Transforming Media, and the Midwest Plainsman podcast, and all the great work that they're doing. But until next time, hope everybody has a